Parasites definition is anything that feeds off a host, or in Latin terms, an unwanted dinner guest, which is kind of gross. So,
Nice.
and then you divide those up. So, like a protozoa is a microscopic parasite that a lot of us can catch from the water. And it includes Giardia, which is why you boil your water if there's ever like a water break in you're in your neighborhood. There's crypto, and then there's like D. fragilis, but they're all microscopic parasites that can really cause havoc inside of your body.
Are you going through life blind? This is Eyes Wide Open with Nick Thompson. On this podcast, we share knowledge and stories that build human connection while elevating stigmatized societal issues such as mental health, holistic wellness, culture, free speech, and more. All to ensure we show up in the world with our eyes wide open. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on Eyes Wide Open. I am super excited about our guest today, who is Kim Rogers. You may know her, or you will after this, as the Worm Queen. Kim is a holistic wellness professional, author, former professor, and host of the What's Eating You podcast. She is dedicated to advancing medical knowledge and improving patient care through her own healing journey. She's also the co-founder of the Rogers Hood Apothecary Company and the inventor of the Parify Kit. I always want to say Parify. Parify Kit. Yeah. Aimed at detoxing unwanted parasites, worms, candida, heavy metals, and toxins while promoting wellness. So thank you for coming on today. I'm super excited about this. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me, Nick. I'm very excited to be here and talk to your community about something that is just really not talked about. It's wild.
It's so wild. And I actually want to talk a little bit about why it's not talked about too, because I have some theories. But before we get into all of that fun stuff, I want to ask you what I ask all my guests, which is, when you were a little kid, first time you thought about what you wanted to be when you were growing up, or when you grew up, what would that be? And then I guess, how did that lead you to being the Worm Queen?
I mean, I wanted to be the Worm Queen. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't want to be the Worm Lady. I can tell you what I didn't want to be when this all started. So I actually asked the community over on TikTok when I went viral what else we could call me than Worm Lady. And so they came back and said, well, you're queen and we want to crown you, so let's call you the Worm Queen. I'm like, I'll take it. It's great.
I would take that.
Great way for people to remember who I am.
It's easy. It's easy to remember, and it's queen. That's a good thing.
Yeah. I've been crowned. People actually send me crowns and stuff, so it's been kind of fun. My sister was a beauty queen, so now I get to just be a queen with her, so it's fun.
You two are like polar opposites. Worm queen, totally. Beauty queen. But you've both been coronated, and that's what's important.
That's right. We both have crowns. So it's been really fun. I mean, this has been a fun 4 years for me to be able to like give my knowledge to people. And when I was a kid, I loved medicine. I've always really loved the human body, and I've always wanted to explore it. I was pretty young when I was sick. So I've been sick most of my life. My mom was chronically ill, and so she kind of passed some of those genes and onto me. And so I've always been very interested in the way the human body responds and just plant medicine. So I've always been in this world, just in a different capacity before, because I'm classically trained in Western medicine. I hold 2 healthcare degrees. I was valedictorian in both of those degrees. And then I went on to run 25 healthcare colleges, and I was a professor at night, and I worked writing medical books for some of our bigger publishing companies. So this has always been something that I've loved doing, giving my knowledge, reading, and now I get to just do it on a whole different platform for people that maybe aren't so lucky to be able to go into a classroom. And so I kind of treat this a little bit like my classroom after I started to decline with my own health.
I think that's wonderful. And one of the things I find so fascinating about the work that you do is like so much of it with social media now, not just you, but a lot of people, like you get so much free content on social media that you just don't get access to. And you went viral, I think it was 2021, because you were sick.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you were dealing with. You said you were dealing with it your whole life. What made you sick? And then how did you decide that you were going to go on TikTok?
Well, I already was a little bit on TikTok. I had like an account that had 10,000 followers, and my husband and I were building our own log home, and we were
Hmm.
teaching people about functional mushrooms as well as other style of mushrooms. And
You can
so
say
I already had a little, like, just the magic of them all. And so I already had a little bit of an account because I was in the background really fighting for my life, and I didn't know how else to express myself because I've always been a very extroverted person, and here I am in
it.
the woods literally fighting for my life, with my husband. So in 2019, my husband and I, after me having 13 surgeries and a hysterectomy when I was 29 years old, and it got to a point where I could no longer have any more surgeries, and I wasn't using the restroom for 30 days.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
really becoming a lot for us. And so we decided, my husband left his career, I left my career, and we moved out to our recreational property out in a little place called Hoodsport, Washington, to build our log home, just the two of us. We got our affairs in order so that if and when something happened to me, if I didn't make it through my healing journey, that he would not have a big mortgage and debt. And that was really important to me, that I wasn't just going to like leave my husband grieving as well as
In
broke.
debt. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just kind of got our lives together. We sold everything and we went out there on raw land and really just kind of dedicated our lives to figure out what was wrong with me.
When you were so sick and you were having, did you say 13 operations?
Yeah, I'd
And
had 13
what
surgeries.
what surgeries were they performing and what was their reasoning?
It was laparoscopic surgeries. So they would go in and clean out. I had stage 4 endometriosis, which like 200 million women have in the country, in the
Okay.
world. And so, that's their answer, right? Put them on some sort of a medication, do some surgeries, and then unfortunately this is just the way your life is going to be, and I'm just not one to take that. And so
Yeah.
it was a challenge to me, honestly, when they were like, there's nothing left, this is your life. And I'm like, no, I'm 40. This is not my life. I'm 40.
It's not the same, but it's similar in outcome. I actually did a podcast with a stem cell physician. And just during that podcast, we were talking about stem cell research and how, guess what? We're 15 years behind everywhere else in the
Yep.
world here in the country. It's not FDA approved, all that stuff. And so through that conversation, I ended up deciding that I was going to have stem cell into my hip with Dr. Gross, because my physician here was like, you need a hip replacement. That's the only option. I'm like, I'm 39. I'm not getting a hip replacement.
Totally.
I'll deal with the pain until I can't walk anymore before I get a hip replacement. And then I did the stem cell procedure, and it was just very I was like, I'm not living my life like this, and I'm not
Hmm.
getting a hip replacement at 39 years old.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it's
And
crazy.
but that's the model here. And we talked a little
Hmm.
bit about this before we were recording, and I wanted to talk about it now. But like, how are you feeling during this time? Because you had all this knowledge. You were, working in the medical field extensively in the details, not even being told, what the research or what you're supposed to do, like what kind of happens to some people. Um, when did you realize maybe this Western traditional style of medicine wasn't working for you and you needed to take action?
2019. We literally,
No.
also, I'm also a stem cell. I did my own. And then
Oh,
next month, we're actually doing an entire series on what's eating you. We're going down to Newport and we're going to record everything. I'm going to show my own DIY protocol of how
nice.
to do stem cells in a facility that's not $20,000 or $25,000. I'm going to show everyone exactly what needs to be done, and I'm
Oh,
bringing in
wow.
other company and other facilities that have modalities that you should be doing when you're doing stem cell, how to prep for it and how to aftercare. So
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
stem cells. I have chronic Lyme, which I found out in 2023, and they're so good for chronically ill people for exactly what you're
Mm,
saying. It really does help with changing your health. So I want to tap on that because I am a huge stem cell advocate. I think that
yeah.
we're just beginning, but all stem cell places need to tell you the before and after care as like you as a human, because
Yes.
it is in the
Yep.
difference. Like I used my own, And now I'm going to use umbilical cord stem cells,
Yeah.
and I want to know where and how and why. And so like I'm going to show everyone. And so I'm really
That's
excited about
awesome.
that. But I
I
wanted
can't
to
wait.
touch on that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
It'll be
That was
cool.
the cool thing about working with Dr. Gross is we actually did a whole podcast
Nice.
series
Oh,
where
I'm
we
going to go
did.
watch it.
Yeah, I shouldn't say it's a series. Did we have? We've had 2 episodes. One of them's like very much like I filmed my whole. I went out to Las Vegas for it. I
Cool.
filmed my trip. We filmed the entire procedure of me. We had someone film that, and then I edited together. I think it ended up being like 16 minutes of what the whole process was like, and then we were following up every month with the protocol afterwards, and did some. I haven't released this yet because we haven't recorded the follow up from some of it, but we were doing some peptide treatments with it and all sorts of stuff. And
That's awesome.
it isn't perfect, but it is a hell of a lot better than it was.
So good. It's so good. And I think the knowledge that we're going to share and that you're sharing, I'm going to go watch it when we're done here, because it's really important for people to understand what options they have when they are in this chronically ill or chronic pain. Like chronic pain will automatically turn into chronically ill fast.
Yep,
it's just kind of the way our bodies respond. And so that's really awesome. I'm so excited.
Oh, it's so funny how these,
right?
It's so funny because this podcast has become like a stream of thought for me, where at the beginning, I'm coming in on 3 years, which I just saw. I couldn't believe that. Coming in on 3 years with this podcast. And I used to really plan it out. Like it's Men's Mental Health Month. I want to talk to a male psychologist or a male mental health advocate, or it's, Labor Day. I want to talk, stuff like that. And now I'm just like, what is on my mind? Because if I have questions, I know my audience has questions, and then I go find someone that can talk about it. And that was how I found Dr. Gross. That was how I've been following you. And it was just, it was just awesome. It's funny because it just kind of pans out. Like, what am I thinking about? And then the algorithms, right?
Yeah,
so
algorithms. But they know. That's what happened when I went viral. They just know. They like, it's so crazy how it can read your mind.
I know.
Honestly, I mean, when I found out about therapeutic plasma exchange, I had just thought of it and it came up right on my TikTok. And I'm like, this is just like this cleanse. It's just like the Parasite cleanse. It's just like it. And I'm like, oh my God, stop reading my mind.
Seriously, I'm telling you, they know.
They do. They
know.
So
you decided, let's go back to, so you decided in 2019, you had to take care of yourself. Yeah. Actually, one thing before that, which I think I took us on a weave of that, but why do you think in Western medicine, it's always surgery, it's always medication. A lot of times it's a combination of both. And very rarely are these solutions permanent, right? Like I think the permanent is you get an antibiotic when you have an infection, and then that antibiotic clears you up from that infection. To me, everything else seems so predetermined, I guess I'll say.
Well, and even if you take that antibiotic, they don't teach you that you have to take a specific probiotic to help replenish the bacteria, because all of it's been depleted. Yep. So there really is this missing thought process for all of this. And that's kind of where I've inserted myself, is that there's a part here that we have missed. And for me in particular, that part is parasites, mold, and Lyme. And so would I have needed to have a hysterectomy at 29 years old? Probably not. And so I feel like the last 20 years of my life, where I have been just kind of playing from the back, trying to catch up, is I'm caught up. Like, okay, so I had a hysterectomy. It kind of band-aid the situation. But was that situation really parasites, mold, and Lyme for me? 100% it was. So I'm just being really loud about it. And I have a solution, which is such an easy process for your body. Now, you're not always going to feel great while you're parasite cleansing, but I really did my best when I went viral about a parasite cleanse to kind of learn from the mistakes I made so that I can teach others how to correct those mistakes of parasite cleansing. And just so that your listeners can hear, we're not the only country that has ever had a thought process about parasites. Other countries actually deworm themselves.
Yep.
We just don't have that education. It's a miss from 101 years ago when all
Mm,
of our Western medicine books were being written. There was a miss. And I know because I've worked in that world how easy it is to actually change the future by making just a couple of changes in the present. And so that's
mm,
kind of why we are where we're at with parasite cleansing, and kind of why I teach it and I show you my knowledge, and I give my knowledge to people, because it's not our fault that we missed this
no.
part of it, but it is our fault that we're not continuing to educate ourselves about it. So I feel like after my journey, I mean, when I say I went viral, when we talk about going viral, it wasn't just a little. It was like
Hmm.
1 million people in 2 hours watched my 60-second video that I talk about how parasites came out of my urine and my skin.
Yeah,
And it freaked people out. So,
totally.
people just stopped on that video. And then at one point, TikTok had me at 40 to 50 million views a month.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm
Now that I
censored
would say
since,
that's
but it's
well, you and
okay.
me both. I it's the shadow banning on these social platforms. I
Yeah.
could just go on and on and on and on and on about. When you were, so you spent, correct me if I'm wrong, 2019.
Yes.
So when you shut down, you moved to the forest, you built a log cabin, and
Yes.
then you cleansed yourself. Like, how did you even know where to start?
Well, that was around 2021. So
Okay.
from 2019 to 2021, my husband paused our log home build, grew me mushrooms. I thought, well, if anything, I'm going to be able to go to the bathroom and have a psychedelic moment at the same
Yeah.
time. So I might as well biohack stack here and like
Heck
get
yeah.
myself in a better space. And so then I realized like the power of mushrooms. And that's kind of why we celebrate the mushroom, Amanita, because she was really helpful in my journey. And then I still wasn't at the optimal level I'd like to be. My mental health was still very much not good. I still wasn't looking and feeling the way I wanted to feel, even with all of the extra steps. But at this point, we weren't like scared that I was dying. And when I say that I was in really rough shape, let me just show you a picture of what I looked like so that you guys can see what a difference just a little bit of cleansing can do at that point in my life. Hold on, I'm almost there.
No, that's fine. And this will give me a chance to plug my YouTube because most
Yes.
people listen on Apple. So if you're listening on Apple and you want to see this before and after, hop on over to YouTube and check us out on there. Um, the
So
other, no, you're
here we
fine.
go.
Oh, you got it.
That's how sick I was.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think you were the same person.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy how sick I really was.
And that's inflammation driving that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly inflammation. Mostly because I
Wow.
wasn't really eating a whole lot. So
Yeah. Well, I figured if you weren't going to the bathroom for 30 days, what could you eat? You're backed up.
yeah. And that's pretty normal for someone that I now know. I had crypto. And within 3 days of doing my first cleanse, that I was scrolling with purpose on TikTok, and this girl said I almost unalived myself over worms. And it just stopped me. And I was like, okay, so a few years before I thought I had worms, and my
Hmm.
doctors all told me no, they were going to actually biopsy the area. And I was like, why don't we check to see if I have worms first before we go biopsy an area? And they were like, yeah, no, you don't have worms, you live in a first world country. And I was like, well, we can all still
That's
get
not a
worms.
thing.
But
Yeah.
I didn't even think anything of it. I just agreed with them and I moved on. And then when I came across this gal's video, she was like, my mental health was a wreck. I did this cleanse. It was like $30, just a tincture over on Amazon. And so I did it. And within 3 days, I saw pinworms, roundworm, and flukes in the toilet. And then later I found out I actually had Cryptosporidium parvium, which is parvo, which kills puppies, which I got because I live in a rainforest, which it's
Oh my God.
prevalent there. And then I found out that our water was contaminated. And so it just started to compound on an already very chronically ill person. And so it just started building up. All these environmental toxins just started to want to take me out.
Wow. And when you said worms parasites, and there was another specific kind of flukes, you said, right?
Flukes. Yes.
Yeah. What are each of those and what are they doing to you?
Mhm. So, parasites is the general word for all of those things. Parasites definition is anything that feeds off a host, or in Latin terms, an unwanted dinner guest, which is kind of gross. So, and then you divide those up. So, like a protozoa is a microscopic parasite that a lot of us can catch from the water. And it includes Giardia, which is why you boil your water if there's ever like a water break in you're in your neighborhood. There's crypto, and then there's like D. fragilis, but they're all microscopic parasites that can really cause havoc inside of your body. And then there's nematodes, which are the actual physical worms, which are roundworms, flatworms, tapeworm, which RFK Jr. had neurocystosarcoma, which is a tapeworm in his brain. So the physical worm is still there, but it's no longer alive, they say. So, but tapeworms can produce 1 million eggs a
I
day,
know. That's
46
insane.
uteruses in each one of those little segments.
That's insane.
It's so gross.
I told you before, I didn't know about any of this. I think I, I actually probably had heard about it
Mm-hmm.
before and just not really known what it was until the whole RFK story came out. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can get these things. I think this is important. Like, you don't have to be in a third world country, right? Like, I
Right.
know we have lead in our water in
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. Like, I'm in Chicago, in the city, like
Mm-hmm.
proper. We have lead in our water. We have, I use reverse osmosis filter now
Smart.
to do everything. Every water I drink here comes from the reverse osmosis filter. Um, but like, how does this happen? Like, how are people catching them? I don't know, catching them even the right word, but
Mm-hmm.
how do people get them in a country like the US where we're supposed to be first world?
Well, definitely the water, because our country
Yeah.
doesn't test for nematodes, which are the physical worms, which is what we had in our water. They'll test for they'll test for like protozoas if there's a break, but it's not a regular testing situation. And so
Mm.
I actually live in Seattle, and I've tested the water here, and it has tested positive for nematodes. So that is something that is in our water. So never drink the tap water. That's ice. Brushing your teeth, it's the same. I had one in my eye because I would wash my hands and then put my
What?
contact in. I would brush my teeth with the water. I never drank our water, but I washed our produce. I showered. I mean, all of those things we don't really think about. And I didn't think about them either. I mean, I had already been cleansing for a few months, and then I paused and I was like, how am I still so sick? And where am I getting these from? And so I paused and I went and had our water tested, and it came back positive. And then I was on even a bigger mission because I realized that, I was contaminating myself, trying to do the right thing, washing my produce, but I actually probably was making my produce worse. So I paused and I just really like dug in. I started researching what our country does for the water. And then
This is the rabbit hole that
oh
you
yeah, I
get
went down the
yourself.
wormhole. Like I was
Yeah.
down there as the worm queen holding the flashlight, like, hey guys, anyone want to come down here? I'm a little lonely now. So then I
That's
brought,
how I feel
millions
when
of
I get
people
into
with me.
stuff. Yeah. That's what you've done a good job of. I can't remember if we were recording it, but I said what I think you've done such a good job of is creating like content and a community on social media, and I'm sure through your business as well, of
Hmm.
people that can just authentically share real information. And I always find someone's personal experience is much more relatable than a scientific study. And I
Hmm.
think it just gives people, similar to you when you heard the TikTok,
Yep.
it gave you like space to explore. And I think
Hmm.
that's what's so important. And it's almost, again, Western medicine, it's almost frowned upon for some reason now to like do your own research, which I just thought was what I was taught to do, is to be a critical thinker and explore different options. And for me, my journey started in 2012, I think it was, when I realized and learned about fluoride in the toothpaste. And I started making my own toothpaste, which actually made it on Love is Blind. There was a little section about me making my own toothpaste, which is pretty much what I individually became known for, which is funny. But that was the rabbit hole for me. It's like,
Yeah.
what the hell's going on with fluoride in the toothpaste? This is a neurotoxin. it's in the water. And then the rabbit
Yeah.
hole I've been in ever since is always something new coming from our environment, coming from
Hmm.
the products we consume, coming from the products we put on our bodies, all coming from some sort of, not all, but majorly like toxic chemicals, parasites, whatever that is. And it's
Yeah.
everywhere. It gets
Well,
overwhelming.
I believe environmental toxins are the real issue. And it is overwhelming when you look at it in this huge picture of things. But like, this is your body and like, this is all you get. Right. And so you
Mm-hmm.
want to do the best you can. I live by an 80-20 policy. 80% of my life, I'm doing everything I possibly can. 20% of my life, I really just want to be a human and live my life and have fun and just know that I've got me 80% of the time, and like if you're out there eating the sushi, if you're out there eating the salmon, if you're walking barefoot, if you have a pet, if you're hopping in a lake, you just know you need to cleanse when you're all done. You just know that 3 to 4 times a year you should do the Parify parasite cleanse, and you should be just being more conscientious. This isn't like a fear mongering thing. This is just, I had a light bulb moment on camera that I realized that this was my issue, and that if I can tell other people about this particular issue, that maybe they won't have to swim upstream their whole life like I did for 20 years, figuring out what was wrong with me when I was relying on not only my colleagues, because I come from this world, but also my doctors. And like, I
Mm-hmm.
put my health in their hands, which was kind of a mistake for me in a way, but I really didn't have the knowledge to argue any other way. And trust me, when I did, I would. And I went through doctors, because if
I was going
I
to say,
wasn't,
they fire
yeah,
you as a
oh,
patient.
all the time. I am the biggest patient advocate for myself, and I was in the
Yeah.
field for other people, but they don't always like that. So if you didn't like that, I have to be the one that ends at the end of the day worried about what my health is. And that's kind of why my husband and I just kind of left in 2019. It
Yeah.
just happened to be over 2020, where everyone was on a different mission. I was on Save My Life mission,
Yeah.
trying to figure out what was going on. I live in Washington and I'm not a Washingtonian. So it was like I'm out there in my own world trying to figure out what was wrong with me, because
Right.
I was so sick. I just look back and I think I'm so grateful I made it, and I appreciate like everything my husband did. I mean, he really became my doctor.
Yeah.
And so I want to share that with everyone. That's really my life's mission. I know what my pain to purpose is for a reason.
Well, I think that's again like a really good thing when you use your pain or your experiences to help other people. What I find so interesting is that you said was I was my own advocate and then I wanted to advocate for others. For some reason, we are in a position now where you're supposed to trust the experts, listen to the
Hmm.
doctors, whatever. But a lot of times, and I encourage everyone, if they haven't watched this movie to see how some of this stuff really works, or I'm sorry, TV show, go watch Dope Sick. If you want to see Michael Keaton's in it. I'm trying to think of what streaming service it was on. I want to say it was HBO Max. But Dope Sick is about how we ended up with the opioid crisis
Yeah,
that
it
we
was
have
a
in this
good show.
country. Yeah, it's a great show, but it shows you how pharmaceutical companies, in a lot of cases, control the narrative to the doctors. And they do it in a variety of ways. There's even another Netflix show on the topic, which is from the perspective of how pharmaceutical reps work
Hmm.
in this industry. But if you go watch Dope Sick, I like Dope Sick a lot because I felt like it told it in a much easier digestible way, right? And so you go watch that and you see like, wow, like even doctors with good intentions
Hmm.
are trusting the quote science. And this is, by the way, totally going to get me like demonetized and like censored and all that stuff. That's okay though. I don't care. It's but it shows you how like even well-meaning
Yeah,
doctors and experts and stuff are at the mercy of what is available to them with information.
it's
And when
so hard. Sorry, keep going.
no, that's all I was going to say. And when you take your health into your own hand or you advocate for yourself, you're now like persona non grata to these
Yeah,
doctors and to the community.
it's true. I worked in the field, and the way they show it is legit. It's legit.
Yeah.
And I actually had to pause watching it, and I looked over at my husband. I'm like, this is really how it is. And they're not allowed to give you money, but they can do dinners and vacations. And like you go into facilities, and when you go and you look in an office, look around, they probably have a clock that says one of the names of the
Yeah.
pharmaceutical companies. Like it's a legit thing. And even someone like myself, I've always been an advocate, but it's so hard to go against the grain when you're in that field. And
Hmm.
even with me, I've had a lot of people that I've been around for decades not ever speak to me again because I'm talking about something that's so taboo, and I don't understand why. And I always say, other countries, you can go down to Mexico and you can go to their pharmacy, and for $7, you can get an anti-parasitic. And they would like you to do this at least twice a year, especially if you have
Hmm.
pinworms, because they live with other worms in your body. You've got other countries like Jamaica, they use an herb called the bush and they drink the tea monthly. Other countries realize that our water and fish and raw meats and raw produce, if you're going out of the country, never eat raw produce. You don't know how they cleaned it. And just like what we talked
Yep.
about a little while ago, they could be cleaning it with contaminated water. And so just be safe, cook everything, right? And so, or if you go to a country and you're drinking the margaritas, that means they use their water somehow in that margarita. Just come home and cleanse. If you go to a doctor and it's 3 months later and you've got stomach issues and you went to Mexico, they're not always going to identify
Hmm.
that that trip to Mexico is why now 3 months later you have stomach problems. So you go get a Parify kit and you cleanse for 30 days. Guaranteed you're going to feel better because of the herbs that I chose to use. They hold heavy metals, they hold spores, they hold bacteria, they can drop eggs left and right while they're feeling inhospitable in your body. And
Hmm.
so it's like you got to be proactive for yourself now. That's the type of world we're living in.
Yeah.
And so it's really just about the knowledge that you need to know. But let me tell you, man, it is so easy to catch a parasite. And I say 95% of us have a parasite in our body of some kind.
And you've said, I just kind of want to ask the question because you've answered a few times in different contexts, but
Hmm.
how do people get parasites? We talked about water, we talked about fish, sushi. Is it anything raw, the
Hmm.
water? And then how do you avoid them? Is it cooking everything or whatever? I'll let you take the question.
So, pets really are a big way to get parasites. We deworm our dogs. We should be deworming ourselves at the same time we deworm our cats. Cats hold their own specific parasite called toxoplasmosis, which is really a prevalent thing out there. Most of our animals have parasites. It's just normal. Like they're out there licking themselves and walking out and about and eating other animals' food. So that's one way to catch it is through your pets. And then the other way is walking barefoot. There's a lot of dirt that has parasites in it, and you're walking out there. You can clean the area that you're going to ground with
I
like
was just going to
diatomaceous
say, I
earth.
just started
Oh, do it.
taking my
Keep
sandals
going.
off to ground
Just don't
2
ground
weeks
where
ago.
don't ground where like a dog's gone poop. I was doing a podcast with someone and they were
My
like, "Well,
whole
I
neighborhood
ground."
has dogs poop
Oh my
everywhere. Oh man.
just clean the area. Just find one little area that you will always go in and just clean it with like diatomaceous earth. And then just other animals can harbor parasites that go poop there, and then it rains and you'll never see it, and so it just goes in. This is all very normal. It's just not normal
Yeah.
to us,
Yeah.
right? So that's one way. Swimming in a lake, you can get multiple parasites from swimming in a lake. So especially if you're the summer, everyone's probably out there jumping in water. If you
Lake
start to feel
Michigan.
funny after, just cleanse. Like I'm not trying to teach fear mongering. I'm trying to teach people how to be proactive with their health instead of reactive. We're such
Yes.
a reactive society that like we're waiting to feel the illness when in really we should be feeling the heal instead of feeling the ill. So it's really about taking it into your own hands and not relying on someone else's knowledge to help you make it through a chronic illness. And I mean, I'm guilty of that, right?
Yeah.
I'm
We all
guilty
are.
of falling into that world, but then at the same time, I'm like I just wanted to know what was wrong with me, and sometimes I had to pause to figure that
Yeah.
out.
I find too, and I think it's kind of a nature of the beast that we live in over here with Western medicine. But
Mm-hmm.
I find, and I'm guilty as well, I find that people like really do look to their doctor for the answer
Mm-hmm.
without actually looking inside. And I've had my own time where Dr. Jabin Moore, I think you actually follow him
Yeah,
too.
Dr. Moore. I love Dr. Moore.
Yeah, he was a guest on my show right before the Super Bowl, so probably in January, and we had a great conversation. But it was just one of those things where I was like not thinking about any of the stuff he was sharing about his knowledge, and it became, I forgot where I was going with that. I had a reason for bringing that up, but
Being our own
basically,
advocate.
yes, yes, yes. So that was where he questioned me about all my supplements. And he's like, "Do you know?" And I'm like, "No. I don't do one at a time and see how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I just add them when I think there's something I need to add, or I found out, a couple years ago I was vitamin D deficient, so I supplement with that, stuff like that." And then it's like, you do that with medication, you do that with treatments, and it just compounds, like you were saying earlier
Mm-hmm.
about the illnesses. It compounds and you don't even know what you're treating anymore. Are you
Right.
treating symptoms of what you're doing? Are you treating root cause issues? Any of that kind of stuff. And that's where I think people have to advocate for themselves. And if you're starting a new medication for something, what's the before and after? Are you net positive? Are you net feeling better?
Mm-hmm.
Have you addressed the root causes of these things? All of that kind of stuff. I think people need to do for themselves because no one else is going to do it for you. They're going to prescribe you a pill or a procedure or something.
They're gonna, and because that's the solution in our minds is, oh well, you've got something wrong, I think this could help you. And then
Mm-hmm.
instead of you like going in and doing a little more research, even supplements, this is kind of what stemmed me over to making my own cleanse,
Yes.
is because there's so much filler in our supplements and we never know exactly where the herbs come from or where all of it's processed and made. And so when I went viral, I actually asked the company that I'd gone viral over doing their cleanse, what was your natural ingredient and why do you use caramel coloring? And they couldn't answer me. And that was really
That's
upsetting to me because here I've gone
crazy.
through all of this. I'm like on a much better trajectory. And now I'm telling people about this product and I want to be able to say, oh my gosh, they're so transparent. And they wouldn't be with me. And I'm like, wait, so I've sold, hundreds of
Uh-huh.
thousands of bottles of this for you guys. And I just want to know for my community. And they were like, yeah, it's just patented. And I'm like, okay, well,
Well, that's why I have. I was looking at amino acids recently, and one of the ones I found at, I don't want to name them, but they had like proprietary blend, and
yes.
I was like, okay, so you have a proprietary blend, and I don't know what percentage of all of these things that I'm getting with it.
Mm-hmm.
So those kinds of things, they're not all bad. I'm not saying they're all bad, but those are the things that should perk someone's eye. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
what are the additional ingredients? Why is there rice flour in my
Right.
supplement? How much of it is rice flour?
Yes, Nick. That's why I quit taking turmeric
Mm,
that I didn't make myself.
yeah.
Like literally, I just bought the stuff dehydrated and was making it myself. Same with mushrooms. It's kind of what got me into the wormhole of everything was looking at mushroom supplements. And I'm like,
Mm,
wait, why are you putting filler in? I just want the fruiting body. I don't want to have all this extra in my body. I'm literally
yeah.
trying to clean it out. Like, is that what I'm allergic to? Is that what I'm having problems with? So I literally was on a mission and I went viral in July, and by September, so only a few months later, I just wanted to start my own company.
Yeah.
I just wanted to start my own product, and I wasn't in a place because we were still building our log home. And so that's when I found my business partner who's in Jonesboro. And that's why our product is made in our own 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility. I have 30 employees. We built the manufacturing facility ourselves. I source everything myself because
That's
it's that
awesome.
important that when you go on this type of journey, right? Because I'm on this journey, I'm on a mission
Hmm.
that I'm able to stand 100% behind what I'm doing, including my product.
Yeah. I actually, there was one person that I had on here maybe 2 years ago now had a supplement company, and she was able to show me everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it built like trust, because I don't really do advertising on this show, because if I don't endorse a product, like I don't want to do it. Like
Yeah.
I'll have someone come on and talk about it, and if there's holes to poke in it, I'll poke holes in it if I think there are, or give them an opportunity to explain why caramel colors in their supplement. But
Mm-hmm.
the reality is like I don't trust a lot of stuff, because what you see isn't always what you get, and what they
Mm-hmm.
advertise, especially in supplements, is unregulated. You can say so many things that you can't say in a regulated industry. And so even there was one point where I was talking to a supplement company about some stuff that I was thinking of starting up, and I couldn't get the transparency I needed on where not even where it was manufactured, because it was manufactured in Atlanta, I think, but it
Mm-hmm.
was like, where are you sourcing these ingredients from?
Right.
And if they're American, like what kind of them? Because I don't trust American sourced ingredients just because the word Americans with them. You know
Right.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
I admire that. And tell me a little bit now. So you obviously, I know when you started, but you decided you were going to start the Parify, not
Yeah.
Fly,
Mm-hmm.
Parify Detox, and you make it and manufacture it in your own, with your own sourced ingredients right here in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what the Parify cleanse is and how it works and what people can expect as they go through it.
So it's 3 tinctures. It's Parify is your parasite cleanse, Sustain is your candida and bad bacteria cleanse, and Metal Flush is your heavy metal detox and also breaks the biofilm. So when you have environmental toxins in your body, similar to parasites, mold, heavy metals, spores, they actually get encased in a biofilm or mucus. So a lot of times if you're just going and getting some willy-nilly parasite cleanse, you're not breaking the biofilm completely down. And so I learned that you're not only doing a parasite cleanse, but they're dumping heavy metals. So you want to make
Yeah.
sure you bring in an herb that's going to sweep out those heavy metals so you don't have heavy metal poisoning when you're done with
Because
all of this.
they'll eat anything, right?
Yeah,
So we're all getting all sorts of heavy metals just from the air we breathe.
right.
So they're consuming those and then condensing them essentially. And then if they, what did you say? If they leak them, that wasn't the word you
Right.
used.
When you kill them off, they're
Yeah,
dropping them.
dropping
So
them.
yeah, they can hold 6 to 8 times their weight in spores, heavy metals, viruses, and bacteria. And you may never know that you had those just kind of contained inside of them. And that's not just them as in a parasite. That's how most environmental toxins that are in our bodies, that's what they do. It's like a house, and then you enter and you don't have to leave if you don't want to. And
Mm.
so you're literally going in with the Parify kit and you're burning their house down, exposing them, and then coming and picking them off one by one with other herbs that we put in the Parify kit in order for you to be able to have a fully functioning cleanse in a sense. And you might not always feel great. Like when you're killing them off, they're peeing and pooping and dumping all of this stuff in your body. So you're really trying to mitigate them from doing all of that by going in and kind of bringing other herbs in. And that's what I had happen to me all on camera. I'm literally like, I had them coming out of my skin. I mean, it
Oh
was
my
just a
God.
wild ride. And I'm like, how can I get people to do this and have it be as successful as possible? I didn't know what a binder was in Western medicine.
Yeah.
We use charcoal if you've overdosed or you've have alcohol poisoning. We're not giving it to you in a microdose to like
Mm.
bind the toxins out. So I had to learn all about that.
Oh my gosh, I've been on the activated charcoal since I was 21, because
Oh wow.
I would take it when I would go drinking.
Oh yeah, that's what I heard. I'm like, where
Yeah.
was I?
Yeah.
I was a drinker. I probably wouldn't have had as many hangovers.
I was going to say there's like no hangover when you do that. I mean, you can probably give yourself a hangover if you excessively do it. But if I'm going out to drink, like as the main activity, I always take it.
Smart. I
Yeah.
do now.
Yeah.
4 years I got it.
Yeah. And the importance of the binder too it's almost like a broom sweeping up the mess
Yes.
afterwards, right? Yeah. Think of it.
The charcoal, in our case, it's called cinnamon, and it's Ceylon cinnamon and coconut activated charcoal. And I chose Ceylon cinnamon because it's an anti-inflammatory, but it
Mm.
also helps sweep spores out. So again, while you're doing this, and they could be dumping things in your body, the herb will come in and sweep it out. But charcoal is a negatively charged herb, and most toxins are positively charged, so it acts as a magnet. That's what a binder is. It's a magnet that helps magnetize and then sweep them out so they're
Yeah.
not coming out your skin and your urine and other orifices. My best friend Sam, who's my co-host on What's Eating You, she has them come out her nose. Like that's her
Oh
exit
my
point.
God.
I know she's like, I blew 100 out my nose. And I mean, it's just shocking because it's an orifice and they were trying to escape because you made your body inhospitable. And so it's a
I am
freaking
not ready for this
situation.
conversation.
I had him
I
swim out my
thought
feet. Nick, did I send you Fulvic? I had him swim out my feet. I have it on video.
no.
Literally, it's out of my, they're swimming in circles. And I mean, that was in
Ugh.
October. So July went viral over my video, but then in October I did a fulvic soak and they came out of my feet and I went
Where are
even
they
more
coming out of
viral.
pores?
Yeah, there's 125,000 pores on the bottom of each of your feet. So it absorbs all of the fulvic. It starts to make your body inhospitable and then they leave. It's an exit point.
I think if I saw that, I would probably pass out.
It was rough. It was rough. I have it on film. I probably wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't filmed
Oh
myself
my
doing it.
gosh. I need to see that.
I'll send it to
This
you.
is, and if 95% of people have
Mhm.
them here in the US, it still blows my mind. But like, how do you think, obviously you're doing the work, but how do you
Mhm.
think like people can recognize if they have a parasite?
Well, you can get tested and you don't have to take a test to do the Parify kit. We should just be doing this. Again, going back
Yeah.
to that proactive statement. We should just be doing this. We know our fish have it. We know we eat sushi. Like you want to eat that steak rare, you should cleanse. It's just like how we are now, but we just don't have good testing. And I'm working really hard. I have a lobbyist that I'm working with to help do some changes, some medical reform so that we do
Good.
have some accurate, affordable, available testing for
Now's the
parasites and
time.
mold.
There's a
It
movement. Yeah.
yeah, like it's really important that we're in this medical awakening and we're having this health movement that we're all in. And so for me in particular, I'm not in the 60 million that the CDC says that's been tested positive for parasites. My test went to Mexico and they won't add me in because I didn't get tested by like a standard lab that tested positive. Now, I did test with that LabCorp, and then I also tested the same stool with parasites.org that went to Mexico, and they're the ones that let me know what was wrong with me. The LabCorp came back negative. And then at the bottom of the lab test, it says this is not in lieu of a parasitic infection. So that's kind of what helped me navigate even more that we should just have access to a combination of these herbs for us to be able to be proactive in our life. So
Right.
to go and get tested, it's really difficult. You can find great doctors. I have them in my links. I'm always here to help with all of that. But the thing is that they're not going to always know how to test. We don't have accurate testing. And that's okay. Like it's okay when you get this knowledge to have an understanding that it's just something you're going to do for yourself.
Right. And the thing with your Parify detox or cleanse, there's nothing harmful in there. So you don't
No.
have to have parasite, right? Okay.
Right. Everyone has heavy metals. So if you're at least getting some relief from having brain fog due to heavy metals, some inflammation is going down, you might lose a little bit of weight. I used an herb called usnea in there, which is our anti bacteria. It's Mother Nature's antibiotic. It also helps curb your appetite. So there's things that I added in there from my own cleanses that I realized were happening. Like I was eating burgers and ice cream my first cleanse, and I don't even eat like that. It's because they're controlling the sugar thoughts and telling you to eat this. It is a known fact that parasites can control your mind and tell you to eat things. We all have candida at some point in our lives. It's just an overgrowth of yeast. Yeast is normal in our bodies, but when it overgrows, it turns into a parasite. And so you can benefit from taking the Parify kit by just decreasing some of that yeast that got the name candida. So there's things in our bodies that aren't always worms and parasites, but when you have this immune issue that's happening because it's causing you to stay into fight or flight, it's good just to do something that's going to push that out, cleanse it out.
Right.
And the 30 days, you might not realize that that's what's happening. But as you start to think even more, my inflammation's down a little bit, my cravings are gone, my skin looks great. Yeah, it sucked for 30 days. I had headaches and everything, but like my brain fog's gone. And you don't really realize that this is the way you're supposed to live because you've been living like this for so long, right? Nick, you're speechless.
I am speechless because like this is kind of, like I had said, this is kind of new to me. And so, you know, I've obviously followed you for a while. I've listened to some of your other stuff. I've read your website and stuff like that, but like, man, like this is where I get to this, like, we are damned if we do or damned if we don't. I think I'm doing a great thing by grounding, and lo and behold, I'm stepping in parasites.
I mean, not necessarily. You should still be grounding, but now you know that if you're going to go. Okay, so when I was telling you about the grounding, I was on a podcast with one of my good friends, and he goes, well, I mean, I ground while I'm cleaning my dog's poop. And I'm like, really, friend? Like, nope, just pick a space on your yard, and you should put diatomaceous earth in that space for you to ground, and make sure that no other animals are going in that space. Don't be grounding out at a dog park. You know, I mean, it's just really knowing that you shouldn't be grounding where other dogs go to the bathroom because you're just stepping in it. And there's a lot of science behind things like hookworm. Joe Rogan talks about it often, about how the Southerners have a drawl because hookworm eats your iron and they're out barefoot. And so that's where the Southern drawl came in. And so it's like, these are real things that we just need to be aware of. It's not for us to fearmonger, but don't be out there grounding at a dog park where a dog just pooped and hope the owner picked it up. Like,
it's crazy. It's great. And again, I am a little bit speechless, but I think that this is really good. And I think like doing a cleanse how often do you recommend doing a cleanse? Because they go for 30 days.
Right. 3 to 4 times a year, seasonally. Okay. So do it a couple of days before the full moon. Over the full moon, there is a whole thing about the full moon and serotonin, and they eat the serotonin. That's why they recommend doing parasite cleansing over the full moon, because you can unalive more of them. So that's an option, but I just do it if I'm eating questionably, and I travel a lot now. So I definitely take it with me, and I'll do it before I eat questionably. I still eat some seafood. I eat crab. Once in a while I'll have some lobster. And so I'll always take the kit prior to make my body inhospitable before I eat questionably. If I'm traveling and I can't carry my water filter with me, or I can't get it on the shower head, I usually will cleanse because our water is not the best.
Which water filter do you use?
I use this one. It's on Amazon. It's a 1 micron filter that goes on the shower, and then it has add back minerals inside of the filter itself. It's around $45. Oh my gosh, and I carry that wherever I go. When I can change, my husband changes it. I've always been really sensitive to water because of the chlorine. So I've always had a water filter system. I'm allergic to chlorine and like chlorines and everything. So I've always had that. But now I'm even more careful to make sure it's a 1 micron filter. Yeah.
And that's why is that important?
Because 40 micron is the size of a parasite, and then other environmental toxins that are in our water can go all the way down to 5 micron. So you want to have a filter that's 5 micron or smaller. So you can actually go on Amazon and type in 5 micron filters, and it'll bring up a bunch of them. I actually have a few videos that I've shown Seattle's water around 5 showers. It's like brown. And then I was in New York because we had a billboard in New York City, and 2 showers. It was black.
Ugh.
Yeah. So it's a really great way to get a parasite is the water. That's tap water. That's ice. So when you travel with me, I usually am like bottled water and no ice if I'm at a table. We make fun of me all the time because if you sit with me at a meal, I'm like, yeah, I'd like a glass, no ice. Is that tap water? It is. Do you have any bottled water? Oh, you don't? I'm good. I don't need anything.
Ugh. See, and I'm good. I told you I just checked my reverse osmosis filter. It's uh, down to 0.0001 microns in size.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Reverse osmosis is fabulous. You got to always
yeah.
add back, but
I
you
did. Yep, I got the
that's
filter to
good.
add the minerals back in. Yeah,
Yeah. I just don't think people realize that you showering, brushing your teeth, and I probably have a little more trauma about water than most people because I thought I was doing all the right things. Even 2 months after I was cleansing, I was, brushing my teeth one day and I was like, I mean, this is the same water that I was not drinking, but
yeah.
it's just, like
Well, and
the
then when you
light
use it
bulb.
in your mouth, yeah, you use it in your mouth. And this is, I actually had a registered nurse on who started her own toothpaste company. This was like my second episode because of the whole toothpaste love is blind thing. But like it was, she explained, she's like, absorption starts in the mouth.
Hmm.
And that's something people don't think about, which is where you think about like the fluoride in the toothpaste, or her daughter had gotten really, really sick and found out that I don't remember exactly what it was, but she had something like in her sinuses. She thought she was going to die. And by changing her toothpaste and her oral cleanliness, she was able to like heal her daughter. And
Yeah.
like we just don't. So it starts in the mouth, whether you're using it to brush your teeth, rinse your mouth out, drink it, it's going all the way through.
Well, that's why we did tinctures. The absorption in your mouth is immediate and it goes right into your
Mm-hmm.
bloodstream. And they live in our mouth, they live in our tissue and our blood and our muscle. And so it's not just a gut thing. So
Yeah.
that's why the tinctures are so much better than a pill when you're doing a parasite cleanse because it's immediately absorbing. It doesn't have to fight with anything. And I mean, it's so important to know oral health is like your first step.
No. Yeah, that's true. How does it taste?
Oh, I think it tastes great, but not everyone thinks it tastes great. It's a bitter.
Okay.
They don't, environmental toxins are not bitter fans. So it's kind of bitter, but it's a little sweet. What did you think when you took it?
It reminded me it reminded me of Malort, which is a aperitif Chicago known shot that
Oh,
people take, like alcohol shot.
yeah.
And when you bring someone who's not from Chicago to take it, they usually don't handle it very well. But it reminded me so much of Malort.
We're
But
no
you're right.
longer
When you
drinking.
said bitter, it was
Yeah,
like
it's
a
bitter.
bitter. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like a bitter.
We're no longer out here drinking to have to be drunk. We're out here drinking with herbs to
Yeah,
remove stuff
exactly.
out of our bodies. Like it is a fun
Exactly.
shot. I mean, we
Yeah.
do use Everclear. That's how we extract the medicine from the herbs, and we let them soak for 5 to 8 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then we make a tea, and that's how you make a tincture because there's herbs that are alcohol based, and then there's herbs that are water, and then there's herbs that are both. And
Yeah.
so we do both so that you get as much medicine out of the herb as possible and utilize it the best you can. I don't want anything to go to waste. It'll dry so much that it'll literally crack. Like when we're cleaning it out, when we're
Oh,
like
wow.
doing all of
Yeah.
our tinctures. It's a cool process what we used to do back in the day.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, I think again the work that you're doing, and I think that there's so many symptoms that people may just walk off and write off to something else. Like even hearing the person thinking about taking their own life because of how
Yeah.
they were feeling, like depression, anxiety, stomach, gut issues, muscle issues, eye issues, foot issues, everywhere that you said they can come out of.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that if you're experiencing any of these types of symptoms, I think it would be beneficial to try something like Parify because you have nothing to lose and a lot to gain.
Right.
Um, one last question, and then we can get wrapped up here. When people are on Parify, keep wanting to say Parify,
Mhm.
what are some of the temporary symptoms that they can experience that indicates something's happening inside of their body?
Headaches, flu-like symptoms because your body is going into like a resistant mode to boost your immune system. They can have diarrhea. They can go constipated, which is kind of shocking. The binder can also constipate you, but a die-off is they don't want to leave. So they're constipating you. Skin issues
Mm.
is a big one. I have a lot of outbreaks whenever on my skin, whenever I'm doing it, because things are getting pushed out of that big
That's so
organ of
funny.
ours.
Yeah, that's so funny because 2 weeks ago, I've been seeing my dermatologist every couple weeks or every month for um, wart removal.
Okay.
So as gross as that is, and I had also had some like cystic acne that I think, if I remember correctly, might be something of a symptom when you're experiencing
Hmm.
having worms, right? But I had like this breakout that came like 2 weeks ago, and I just wrapped up my cleanse earlier this week. So and I didn't think anything of it, but it was like a very unique breakout right here on my cheek that I hadn't. I was just like, this is random and weird. I usually don't break out there. It's usually
Hmm.
always on my forehead.
Yep. They're pushing out. It was pushing
Yeah.
out. It it was like gotta go. And that's the place that it comes out is the skin. That's how I know. One, it's time for me to cleanse. Two things. One, my skin breaks out when it's time for me to cleanse. And two, I have no self-worth. And it's because they live in mine live in my small intestine. I have small intestinal
Mm,
parasites. I don't anymore, but when I feel like I'm gonna get like need a cleanse, that's what happens.
mm.
So they push out of your skin because you're either making your body inhospitable or there's just an overabundance and your body doesn't know how to process it anymore. So it pushes out.
God, which one's worse? I don't even know. Now, can you always see them when they come out? Because that was what I
No.
had said. Like, I wasn't sure exactly what I was looking for, but I wanted to try it before we got on this call, and it all worked
Hmm.
out very well. But like, I don't. So I didn't look for a little while, like in the toilet or anything like that. I didn't really think about it until maybe the last week or so.
Hmm.
But is it possible they were coming out of my like skin in showers and I didn't know it or something like that? How
Well,
can you
not
know?
everyone has physical worms.
Okay.
So they're microscopic. And even some of the physical worms, like the eggs, are microscopic as well. So unless you're one of the three cleansers,
Yeah.
there's flushers, lookers, and diggers. The diggers are going to find it. If you're just like looking and going or just flushing, you're never going to see them. They're usually microscopic. And I've
Okay.
gone multiple cleanses where I've never seen anything. And then I've gone a few cleanses where I've seen some things. And then I'll go do a colonic and then I'll do a cleanse and then I see something because it's pulling anything that potentially could be living on the side of your gut or because
Mm,
our urine is just a runoff of blood. So there are ways that you can see them, but if you're not in there like digging with
okay.
chopsticks, then
I'm not going to do that. I encourage anyone that wants to do that can do that at their own
I
risk.
love it when people do it because that's how I actually have an entire book. I have a 600-page parasite identification book that's
Oh
on
my
free.
God.
It's an ebook. I have like 5 free ebooks. So if you want to know how to start, drainage pathways, how to open them, I've got a community cookbook, and then I have two parasite identification books. I picked out of around 25,000 pictures that I have. I picked around 6 or 7,000 that are the
Wow.
best.
Wow. And those links, by the way, will be in the show notes for anyone that wants to go check out that additional content. Um, well, this has been enlightening to say the least. I'm a little grossed out, but I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad I'm learning so much about this after I did my first cleanse because now I'm not worried about it anymore.
Yeah. Don't
So
worry.
even hearing it, yeah. But before we wrap up, is there any last thing that you would like to ask me?
Yeah. How was it being on Love is Blind? What was that like? I want to know what that was
Oh,
like.
yeah, I know. So I talk about it a lot because
Hmm.
it was in the moment. It was like Hollywood, right? It was like this big thing, and then going through the whole experience of it, and it's very it's very much a surreal experience. But like what you don't think about going through it, or what I didn't think about going through it, is how I was being filmed for so long every day, like 18, 20 hours a day. And going through the whole process is very, very much about producing entertainment than
Hmm.
I would say like producing actual representations of people and their love stories. So, I know I mentioned this briefly, like after going through everything and I had, a relatively difficult time afterwards for a variety of reasons, I started a nonprofit to kind of advocate for change in the industry and then help people who kind of get left behind, because for every, I would say like one or two very successful influencers that are multiple show reality TV stars, there's a whole bunch of people that went through it and did not have that experience.
Nice
And yeah, and
that you
lives get
did that.
disrupted. Yeah, it's been a healing thing for me. It's similar to why you're doing this, right? Like I
Hmm.
went through this experience. It was really hard. Um, I suffered a lot mentally. I had ended up like having trouble finding a job, and I've been very successful in my career. All sorts of things that just kind of made me realize that they put your life on display, and then they don't really support you with it.
Hmm.
And I think that that should be a key, real like key function of the aftercare portion. And I think there could be so many things that are just done more ethically, so people don't get exploited and have their lives completely disrupted or ruined, or people who have taken their own lives because of their experience on reality TV. So overall, like I look back on it and people always ask me like, do you regret it? I don't regret anything in life. I think that it's, you get yourself stuck if you start regretting, and I don't want to be stuck. So I think it's kind of like healing for me to try and help other people
Yeah.
be successful, as an individual human being, like separate of what their reality TV experience is. And then I think it's important for us to, as a society, really decide what we're willing to do to people for our own entertainment. And I like to kind of drive that question.
Hmm.
But that was my experience. I've had plenty of people that I know that have reached out through the foundation, which is a 501c3, by the way, who we've helped in a variety of ways with mental health support, legal services, understanding contracts, understanding what the experience is like, and those kind of things too. So I'm just trying to turn my experience that wasn't the greatest, but by far wasn't the worst, and definitely wasn't, um, horrible
Yeah.
across the board. So I'm just trying to turn that experience into helping other people.
Kudos to you for that,
Yeah.
because it
Thank
really
you.
is hard to take pain and put it into purpose, help others, and still navigate. I mean, you got to
Yes.
be able to do so many different things when you're navigating. I know we talked a little bit offline about it, but like you get thrown into this spotlight and you have to learn how to navigate the spotlight. You
Yes.
have to learn how to navigate your life because you still have a real life, and you
That's the
have to learn
thing.
how to navigate a business, right? Because no matter which way we all look at it, I navigate a business with 30 employees and I'm in the spotlight and not even realizing how much I got put in the spotlight until one day I
Hmm.
was like at the airport and someone came up to me and was like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, wait, where did you see me? We kind of talked about that
It's funny.
before. And
Yeah.
so kudos to you for really having a safe space for people to be able to come to and talk about those things, because there's things that not everybody does understand.
That was thank you for saying that. The
Hmm.
biggest things for me was when I was going through my divorce and no one understood. It was the most lonely and isolating feeling. Even like friends and family, everyone got so wrapped up in the drama of it all,
Hmm.
and the forgot that it was like a real relationship beyond what they saw on TV, and that there was that ended, and that was there was loss, and there was pain, and there was sadness, there was loneliness, and nobody understood. My friends didn't understand, my family didn't understand, and it wasn't because they didn't want to, but like how could they? It's
Hmm.
such a unique experience that if you don't live it, this is what I tell people who are like, "Oh, I would have done better, or I would have done this." Like, no, you wouldn't have. You don't know
Yeah.
what the hell you would be like in that situation. By the way, where like you're controlled for 24 hours a day for weeks at a time, where you can't even go to the bathroom without getting permission. You don't know what that's like until you
Right.
actually live through it. So I
Yeah.
just think it's important to try and um, advocate for others and use your experience when you can to do something good with it.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Because then it turned a bad scenario into something good for other people to learn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for asking that and then listening to my my rant.
No, it was good, Nick, because like I do watch shows, and I
Yeah.
do know, and I'm not comparable to going on a reality show, but I am showing my whole life on a stage that I love it. I love it. But it is a little, like navigating here and doing that. So it is
Yeah.
nice to know that there is someone out there to be able to go and talk with about, things that maybe not everybody understands. So it's really
Well, and I
great that
think
you've done that for people.
yeah, and it's like an overnight thing for you too, and people
Oh
that are in
yeah.
similar situations where you're a regular person being your regular weirdo self at the airport. I'm a weirdo at the airport. I literally I'm usually at the bar because I don't like flying and I don't like talking to people when I'm at the airport or on a flight, and I'm a freaking weirdo. So I don't want, weirdo Nick sitting at the airport being watched by people. It's
Well, I mean,
uncomfortable.
I do wear my merch everywhere, so that could be it too. Like, and my merch is mushrooms, so people are like, "Whoa, wait!"
Yeah,
I have a
yeah,
business
yeah.
card. But yeah, I mean, it's just weird because, like, I went from being chronically ill and
Hmm.
literally not speaking to anybody for a long time because we were sick in the woods trying to build a log home. Which, by the way, our log home is done and it's beautiful, and we're so
Yay.
grateful we were able to finish it. But yeah, it definitely has been a different avenue for me, but I'm just really glad that I can use the platform. And same with you,
Yeah.
you're just able to talk more about these things.
As much as I can, and I still get shadow banned. So it is what it is. They really don't want the disruption of
Mm-mm.
some of these types of natural cures, we'll say,
Yep.
natural remedies, we'll say.
Natural ways.
Yeah. But as I always say to everyone, and I'll end it on this note for me, but you really, really have to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself and put yourself first, no one's putting you first. And that's kind of like a foundation to how I think about my mental health, my physical health, and all of that stuff. So I encourage others to do the same thing. Where can people find you, get in contact with you, visit your website, and get in touch with you?
You can find me on rogershood.com. That's ROGERSHOOD.com. You can Google Kim Rogers Worm Queen. That's probably the easiest. I'll pop up everywhere. And
I
then
love it.
Mrs. Rogers Hood, that's MRSROGERSHOOD, are my handles for all of my social media accounts. We have over 1 million followers across all of our platforms. So I'm
It's
sure if
awesome.
you just type in Worm Queen somewhere, I'm going to pop up. And then
Easiest way is
that's
in
the
the
easiest.
show notes. Yeah. Or I would even say Google if you want it all, but I've got all those links
Yeah.
down in the show notes too.
Nice.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Eyes Wide Open. If you enjoy the show, the best way to support us is by sharing or dropping a review. For more information and content, check out engagewithnick.com or find me on Instagram at nthompson513. Don't go through life blind. Do the work so you can show up in the world with your eyes wide open.